Hello, November 23rd, 2020. So, today I woke up and I had like a irritated eye, left eye right here. So I was like, oh no, So I went and I looked through my bag for one of my older, I had like a red eye a few times. So, the only way to get like a certain eye drops is like antibiotics that will take away the cat's so greedy. That will take away the infection. Is you can't get it over the counter. You have to go to the doctor, and they give you a prescription. So I was like, oh, like I wish they could just make it that you can get it over the counter. Like, why do I need to go to the doctor? You know what I mean? So to get to the doctor would be like, oh, you need an appointment. We don't have appointments today. So thank God I got this. I found the drops in my bag and I put one drop in my eye and then it felt a bit better and I hope it goes away. So then what did I do today? I went to therapy and I was like telling my therapist how I feel so lonely and I feel so like overworked and tired and depressed. And so she told me I have to figure out a way to make myself happy. She has like a whole booklet for people that have like borderline personality disorder. It's like one of my diagnoses. So she told me that I should look at my book when I get home and figure out ways to treat myself to make myself feel better. So she went and she's like, oh, can I make you tea? So she went and she made me tea. Really, really nice tea. I really enjoyed that tea, and it made me cry because I was like, she's so nice. Like it made me feel a little bit cared for that someone, like, I'm constantly taking care of like these special needs people, and my cats, and I just have no one to care for me. That's her thing always. Like, if you're feeling that if you're giving and giving and giving and giving and there's no way you're getting refilled back up to what you're giving, then you become empty. It's like a battery. The battery gives and gives and gives. If you don't recharge it, then it just dies. So that's kind of how I feel. So she made me tea and it made me cry because I was like, it's been a long time since anyone's really made me a tea. So that made me cry. And then I got the bus and I checked my mailbox by the post office, and because I'm expecting some mail. And I was thinking to myself, maybe I should go and buy myself that ring, like a real gold beautiful ring with crystals in it, to make myself feel better. But then I looked at my bank account and I have like not a lot of money left. So I'm like, okay, I need that for food. I'm not gonna go and I don't have the money to waste. So and I came home and I got myself mentally prepared to go to work. And then so I went to work and I was there a bit earlier, but it was good because it gave me time to prepare for the job, make the salad that was needed and to do what needs to be done. And basically I have this new coworker. She's a nice girl, but she's kind of like, she doesn't know how to talk to the special needs people, and her energy is not so sweet. So it's kind of like, I guess it rubs off on me. And then this other guy, like I don't know, somehow whatever I say comes across strange. Like I was once told by one of the supervisors to make sure all the guys are shaved, but I guess that the guy who showers the guys, he supposedly shaved them, but it looked like it was like brittle. I was like, it didn't look like a clean shave. So I'm like busy. I found myself working like a robot, you know, like, okay, which guy next needs to be shaved, which guy, you know, so, and I used the machine, and he's like, kind of mockingly, because maybe he felt like I was kind of making like, oh, he's not doing the job, you know, like, oh, I could do better, you know, so he's like, I shaved them, but if you want to shave them again, be my guest, you know, so that didn't really feel so good, you know, and I'm sensitive, you know, so like, those kind of comments make me kind of feel icky. It makes me feel like sad, you know. And then I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here because tomorrow I have to be up at 6. No, I have to be up at 4:30 to be at work at 6. I have to be there at 6:15, take a taxi and get the girls up. Then it's like a 45-minute drive. Then I have to come back home and then go back to work in the afternoon at like 2:30. So, oh my god, I was like, okay, then get me out of here. And then I'm like, I was supposed to like prepare for them the bread because in the morning they take medications, so I had to prepare the bread so that they don't take a medication on an empty stomach, you know, at 6 in the morning. So I didn't prepare it. I wanted to run away. So as I was running out, I'm like, I'm sorry, you guys have to prepare the bread for tomorrow or whatever. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, you know, the sandwiches for the morning. And the guy was like looking at me like, wow, you're weird. And the girl was like, whatever, you know? And I just felt like, ugh, you know, like I don't belong here, you know, like. And then I kept saying to them like, oh, I think I need a vacation, you know, I need a vacation, you know? Like I'm thinking to take a week off, but then I'm like thinking, I don't see myself, like I'm thinking to go and just go to the Dead Sea, maybe. I was thinking to go to Eilat, but then I was like, you know, if I go to Eilat, it's kind of desert and I would have to go alone and it's like a 7-hour trip. And I would have to be like, I'd have to get someone to take care of my cats and I would be alone, you know. So it's kind of like I would have to figure out all the logistics of my trip. So I don't know what kind of vacation that would be. But I would still like to go to like a hotel or something and eat the food that they give, like made for me. I don't need to do anything and just sit on the beach, you know, or travel wherever, you know. I'm thinking to maybe do that at some point. I guess I've been getting like overwhelmed by work because it's not like, you know, if I say I want to do 4 days a week, it turns out to be 5 because then I have to travel there to take a silly corona test that the government mandates. Ouch, don't bite me. And so it ends up being that I have to go there every single day, and the days that I have to relax, I'm just like hardly recharged, you know, and I'm lonely and tired, and I'm just like kind of, I get into these like depressed moods. I'm thinking maybe my period's coming. Maybe. So I'm thinking a more practical trip would be to the Dead Sea, where there's like, it's like only an hour away from here, and maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and maybe I can pay to go sit in the mud or sit, you know, a certain area and just prepare my day so that it'll be like a change of scenery, you know what I mean? And yeah, so that was my day at work. And I had a discussion with my mother, and she got all upset at me. My mother called me while I was right before work. I was at work, and my mother called me, and I'm like, "Oh, hello, mother dear." And then we started talking, and then she started telling me that she doesn't like my practice with like the occults, you know, with the cards and the, how do you say, the cards, and the fact that I'm trying to become a witch. You know, and she compares it to the crazy Satanists in Hollywood that are, you know, they're becoming crazy. You know, so my mother got really upset. She was like, "Don't become a fucking Satanist." So I'm like, I said to my mother has this thing, you know, like the Chabad people, they're like, like most Chabad people, they believe that the Rebbe is Mashiach, and a lot of the ones that are a little bit extreme, the Rebbe, he had written letters to people. Throughout the years, he had written letters to people, and in the later years, the people took all those letters that the Rebbe had written and they put it in a book, in many books, like, because he wrote to thousands and thousands of people, so they made like a huge, like many books, and a lot of these people use those books for guidance in their life. You know, they'll ask a question to the book with the Rebbe's letters and the Rebbe's energy, and they'll get like an answer. Sort of like, I compare it to me kind of getting guidance from like cartomancy or tarot cards or whatever, you know? It's the same idea, really, you know? So I told my mother, I said, look, both of us are kind of idol worshippers, because you live your life according to the book of the Igros Kodesh. You know, you'll open the Igros and try to find an answer there for anything in your life, you know, and I'm doing the same with the cards. I said to her, look, if you give up your Igros Kodesh practices of doing that, then I'll throw out my cards. I told her, I promise you. You give up your I know my mother's not gonna give it up and stop doing what she's doing, you know, because like in Judaism there's like a concept of opening the book, like the Torah, to Torah portion, and reading that portion to guide you through your week. You know, it's called the Parsha, the Torah portion of the week. So there's like that whole concept. So it's not like this whole cartomancy, tarot, oracle, witchery, whatever. It's not like a foreign concept, you know. So I told my mother, I said to her, you get rid of your Igros Kodesh and stop living according to it, and I'll give up my cards. I told her, look, it's in the genes, you know. There's always like, I told her it's in the genes. You have your kind of, like at one point before my mother was religious, she was like a vegan, you know, and then she was an atheist, you know, on her search to finding her truth, you know. So I feel like all this kind of stuff is in the blood, because my father's kind of a spiritual person, and my mother's also, and they like to delve into the astrology and the numerology and whatever else, you know, is out there. So I told her it's in their blood, you know. So I don't really feel bad for what I'm doing. Yeah, but then I came home and I was watching. I'm a little depressed, you know. To be honest, I'm like a little bit down because I feel overworked and I feel lonely. So, I was just like surfing the web for interesting stories, you know. I like to watch crime shows and murder investigations and stuff like that, because it's interesting. And I fell upon this other video about how criminologists, like the investigators, they found murderers through the practice of mathematics. So that was really cool, you know. So while I was surfing through the web, I saw a video of this girl called Claire, you know, and she died from cystic fibrosis, and before she died, she was always dying, you know. The doctors were saying, oh, you have 1 more year left to live, 1 more year left to live. And she actually died from, when they did a lung implant, and she died from complications from the surgery. So I watched her video, and it kind of made me like, it's very touching when you watch it, and it's inspirational. But at the same time, it made me feel like kind of like a failure, you know, like she had such a hard life, and she's able to find happiness and a purpose in her life, yet someone like me who has my shit together, you know, thank God I have everything going for me, you know, somehow I find that, I guess I haven't found my niche in life, you know. I guess that's what it is, you know. I think the hardest thing for people in life, no matter what the circumstances, is to find happiness. And Claire, she had this vision that she can find clarity and truth and happiness, maybe, in her sadness. She can find purpose in her sadness, because she did feel lonely at many points when she was sick and all that. And when you watch her struggle, it's kind of like it's sad, but at the same time it's kind of, you feel like this girl is like a powerhouse, and like the short amount of years that she lived to the fullest. She lived with purpose and potential, and she was like a shining star. And like many of us, we live till we're 70 or 80 or 90, 100, and we're like a rotten stinking potato. So I guess the conclusion is that truthfully, I like to, as inspirational as she was, I feel like she was blessed, and she even says herself, she was blessed to have such amazing, positive family that loved her unconditionally, and she just had this attitude, and her family had this attitude. And as I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, like, I was speaking to my little brother, and he's like, look at those people, like, he's like, I have such a good life, like, look at all those people, like, in Indonesia or whatever, they're coal miners, and they could just die from one slip, and he's like, their life is miserable. And I said to him, who says their life is miserable? A lot of those people are actually, like, really happy, They could be happy people, like, they can feel content in their life with whatever work they're doing, even through the hardships and the struggles. It's like, I had this discussion once with my Uncle Mordechai, before he passed. And I was a little bit, upset at God at that point. I said, there are so many people who have, like, a hard life. Like, look at all these children in ISIS that were, like, little girls that were brutally murdered and raped. And, like, how could God do such a thing, cause them so much pain and suffering? And so he told me that, however bad it looks like from our side, the pain that person is going through and their experience may not be what it looks like to us, The actual experience of the person experiencing it at that time may not be as bad as it looks to us, And he said also that, like, before he got sick, he was always terrified of knives, like going under the knife for surgery. And when he got cancer, he found that he used to be really, really terrified of that kind of stuff, but then suddenly he was going through surgery, and suddenly he had no fear, And it was painful, but it wasn't as scary as he thought it would be, in his experience, So someone on the outside is looking and saying, oh my God, it's so scary, like terrifying and painful and all that. Oh, but the person that's actually experiencing it might feel differently. You know what I mean? So that's what his, like, explanation for what God does to some people may not look as bad as it actually is to another person, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So, one thing I'll never do is call on the spirits of my relatives when I'm doing any of my witchery, Oh, my cats. I just hope that tomorrow will be an easy day, because I have to be up and get them up in the morning, and I've never done it before, so I'm kind of scared, but maybe God will help me, and it'll be okay, you know what I mean? Maybe it'll be okay, I hope God gives me the strength to deal with it, you know? Yeah. That's the story. Have a good night.